back, guys, to the Bluefin Fishing Team How-To series. My name's Elyon and I'm one of the Bluefin Alloycraft Junior Brand Ambassadors. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to install a bilge pump in this Alloycraft P395. Okay, so these are the tools you're going to need for the install. Of course, you're going to need the bilge pump, you're going to need your hosing for the bilge pump, the skin. You normally buy this as a bit of a pack together. Some other things you need is either a little soldering heat shrink, to just seal up all your wires, a couple clamps for your hose, recommend a marker, bit of elastic or silicone, as well as your screws to mount it. I recommend some stainless steel screws as it's going to be in contact with a bit of water, drill, some screwdrivers, and a lighter for the heat shrink. Let's get into the back there and I'll show you guys how we're going to install it. Okay guys, with the back of the boat now, we take off this center panel off the Alloycraft boat, as well as the other compartment panel there, so we can access the back of the boat here. So if you look in here, you'll see that we have the battery sitting in here currently, but you can put a fuel tank or other stuff in the back here. Looking down here, you'll see there is a panel here that's designed to mount the bilge pump. In this boat, it has one already mounted in there, but if yours doesn't, I recommend putting a piece of steel, aluminium, or even timber there on the lowest point of the boat, so all the water runs there. By having that, it allows you to install the bilge pump without having to drill into the hull of the boat, damaging the integrity of it. So we've got the bilge pump here. It's just a very standard bilge pump. You can get it off eBay or BCF or pretty much any of your other boating and tackle shops. The bottom part here has two clips. You hold both of them down to pull it off, and you'll see there'll be 3 holes there that allows for 3 bolts. So when you come down here, you've got this now. You have to line it up roughly where you want to put it, and you have to always think about where you're going to put the hosing. So in the pump, there's obviously a hole here, and it's going to sit like that. Now you're going to think where this hosing runs, I want to put it roughly here on the boat. If you're looking on the water line down here, you can see that from the last trip, you want to make sure it's above the water line. I can't put it up here because of how this panel sits here, and you don't want to really put it on this divot. So where you want to put that skin is going to be roughly around here. From the inside then, you realise it's going to sit somewhere this area here. So when the piping runs, you want this nozzle to sit roughly on that angle. Obviously that varies depending on your boat and where it's situated, but for my boat that's going to sit in the best spot. So we're going to grab some of the tools, mark it up, and we're going to drill some holes to install that part. Okay, so we've got our spot here marked. We're just going to mark here with a Sharpie. Bolt hole there, a hole there, and a hole there. So we've got 3 marks there. Come out. So we got that. Now we've got, for the bolt holes I'm using, just a 2.5mm drill bit. It's a little bit awkward getting in there. Again, then we'll start drilling these holes. Okay guys, we're just using some small stainless steel screws. And a little 12mm one so we don't go into the hole. Because we're using stainless steel and aluminium, you always want to use a little bit of elastic to make sure it doesn't corrode there, as they don't like each other too much. That way, when it starts corroding, it will prevent the steels interacting. And we'll just dip it in, put a little bit in there. Now you want to get our bracket here and line up with those holes we just drilled. Right there, perfect. There we go, that one's nice and secure. Okay, so now we've screwed them in. The bilge pump, you just want to test fit it. Sit in there. Go, clipped in perfectly there, mounted nice and securely. So now we're going to do a quick little bit of wiring to wire that up. Best part I found with that, just take it off, and then we're going to grab some of this gear and I'll show you now how to do that. Okay, so we're going to do the wiring now. The good thing with the P395 is all your switches here already from the factory. It runs all the wiring to the back of the boat for the bilge pump. So we run the back here. And you see here's your 2 wires here, which correlates to one of the switches up there, which is for the bilge pump. So for that, all we're going to do is grab a few pieces of heat shrink, The one heat shrink going to tie all the wiring, so we'll just make sure we chuck him up this way. Don't forget to add him in, and then we're going to chuck a piece for each of the sides. Obviously red is positive, so we'll keep that theme with the heat shrink. And then the blue for this pump is your negative, so just chuck a bit of black on that. Now for this wiring, there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can do crimps, you can do solders. I found these little waterproof solder seal things don't work too bad. So for this install, we're going to use it. All you have to do for these ones, make sure your wires are straight. Put them through on each side. Now you want to make sure they fuse together and center that in the middle there. Do that correctly. All you have to do is then get your heater out, your lighter out, keep weather in, and try to melt that solder block in the middle. Very important that that melts like that. Once it's done there, it solders those together. And these blue parts here, they act as a waterproof seal, so it seals that joint. It's all nice and good. And then with that, we'll put the actual heat shrink then over that entire part there, just to make sure it's completely sealed, as it will be good exposure to amount of water. You don't want anything coming into contact. Shouldn't be. See right there. Perfect. Now same thing for the negative. Two pieces here. Go on one side, that's right. The other side. Through. Right, quickly. A little bit of thick there, not that solder. Helps not too much wind. Just helps melting, everything together. This side, use it, this side, use a lighter. Good idea. That's the job done. That's the job now. Get a heat shrink. Right, cover that connection. Seal it up. One wasn't a painful part of the job. There we go. Sure, good. And now we're just going to get that final piece just to make sure that it's all closed together to cover it like that. And we'll just seal that down there. Obviously, get this more preferable, please. Okay, so now that you've got your bilge pump all wired up, situate it back in the slot there. So that should be done now. Okay, now's the part of plumbing it all in and installing the skin. This will be the daunting part of drilling the hole in the boat. Got the skin now, going to mark out where the hole sits. So roughly want to line it up about there. So I'll line it up, it should be about there. I'm going to drill a little pilot hole. So I've just got a smaller drill bit. The starting point can be a little bit daunting, but it's something you have to do. There you go, that's a pilot hole. And now we're going to have to switch up to the bigger part, the actual circle cutter. There's a few different ways you can drill it, but hopefully this is going to be the best way to do it. Okay, so we've got the hole saw on now. I'm going to drill the hole here. There we go. Take that piece out. Recommend wearing eye protection. Now we've got a little file here. I'm just going to clean up a bit of a rough edge here. Just run it around both sides. Make sure that edge is nice and smooth. There we go. Okay, now we're going to installing the skin. Okay, so to install the skin, let's unscrew that part. There's going to be the main part that's going to go in, and then there's going to be the backing nut that's going to go on the other side. Because we're doing with water, we'll make sure it's all sealed up. Again, a little bit of elastic or silicone. Goes a long way. A little bit of good blob around the edge. It's all good. A little bit on the thread. Now what we're going to do is put it into that hole. Put it up like that. Line it up. Now what we're going to do is get this backing nut. Just going to spin all the way in like that. And hold it tight there. Just like that. Nice clean finish. Now the last part of this install is going to be getting the actual hose and the 2 clamps. Now you can buy this hose, you can buy a kit with the skin, just look on eBay or look into your local tackle shop or boating shop. I'm sure they'll have a kit in there for you. Now the main thing is lining it up. As you know, that part's going to situate into the pump there. And then with this one, probably the next closest one, probably situate around the point there, which means a little bit of excess, but we should be able to cut it there. So the Stanley knife. Okay, I'm going to put the 2 clips on. One is going to run down to the end there with the bilge pump, and the other one's going to come sit here where the exit is. Run that pipe onto it there, just like that. Just grab a screwdriver. Flat screwdriver. That'd be fancy. And then we're going to tighten this bottom one here up too. There we go. And that should be your whole bilge pump installed. So that should be everything ready to go now. As soon as you switch that pump, switch on there, and there's enough water in the back here, suck up and it'll pour it out the side of your boat. So hands free, not having to throw the hose over the edge or get a little bucket out to chuck your water out. Plenty of flow for you guys, and as it's above the water line, it means no water should get in there, or if it does, it'll be very minimal. Nothing to do, it won't just pump out again. You can set up automatic bilge pumps, but for this purpose, this boat, this is going to be the manual one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it informative. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Where each week we put out more how-to videos, boating, camping, fishing, anything to do with the outdoors that we love. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well, at the Bluefin Fishing Team. Tight lines.